What's up, guys? It's Bolt, and I'm back with another Remnant 2 build guide. And in this video, we're going to go over my Acid Mage build. And yes, this is a 2-for-1 special. You get 2 builds in one video, 2 different variations for 2 different situations. And I know you guys see it already. No Monolith, no Nebula. Oh my god, it's beautiful. It's a sight to see. You guys love it. Yes, I am sick of those weapons. They're just too damn good. So it was a nice break from them, using something that I haven't used pretty much at all. And I know Corrupted Nebula has been out for quite a while, and I just never got around to it. I remember on its release it was glitched, so it kind of just, left a bad taste in my mouth. So then I completely forgot about it, and then I got to it now, and I gotta say, man, this weapon is pretty damn good. It packs quite the punch. It is pretty niche, as you can only use it on weak spot enemies, but it fits its niche very well and gives the Archon class or mod builds a chance to compete slightly with range builds in the weak spot boss battles. So it's really nice. Big time burst damage. Really overall just a solid and fun gun to use. But let's get right into it. We got Archon slotted in first for the Tempest Prime perk. We need the little bit of mod generation that it does give to provide us our mod uptime. Slotted in second, we have Summoner. Now, this is not a summon build. We are solely using this class for the damage perk Dominator. It increases mod and explosive damage by 35%. So that is a whopping 70% that our explosive mods do. Crazy damage right there. You love to see it. As far as the minion is concerned, you could pick whatever you want. This is not a summon build, so you don't even have to summon them. You could sacrifice them if you want. I found the flyers to be the best balanced summon out of all of them, but it's up to you. So like I said, you don't even need to summon them. They're kind of a nuisance and they get in your way a lot of the time anyway. So as far as the trinkets are concerned, we have the Effluvium Enhancer. This is a corrosion acid build, so all of our damage is corrosive and acid based, so we are getting a nice 25% boost to that, plus a 50% damage increase to our corrosive dots. Nice to see that. We have the Acid Stone. This is going to further increase both those damages by 15%. We are using explosive mods, so our explosive damage will be increased by 15% by the Blasting Cap Ring. Burden of the Destroyer is going to further increase that by 15% as well. We do have a little bit of a decreased range on our firearms, but that's not a big deal. This is a mod-based build, so this is not affecting us too much, so don't even stress that. And then Burden of the Sheolist. We're not worried about the ammo reserves on this build, on this version of the build anyway. So the extra 15% that it's giving us is amazing for the penalty it's given us, as it's not really affecting us. Star of the show, we have the Corrupted Nebula with the Harmonizer mutator. Reason why we use Harmonizer is because we are using the primary fire of this gun in order to use the mod. So since we're using the primary, we're going to use our primary of this weapon to charge the mod on our secondary weapon. And the way that I like to use the Corrupted Nebula most of the time is I'll shoot like around 8 shots, and then I'll like 6 to 8 shots, then I'll activate the mod. Then I'll shoot the remaining bullets again and activate the mod again. And that's usually how I like to use the Corrupted Nebula. Sometimes I'll unload the entire magazine as well. It's just given the circumstance, but the most practical use I've seen for it has been doing it like that. And one other thing, since Corrupted Nebula does have a slow fire rate and a slow reload speed, another option that I like to use sometimes on this build, as I did in the Ravager fight, as you can see, is use Anastasia's Inspiration. Now, since we are using the Tranquil Heart Relic, we will have the haste effect up indefinitely, and this is going to give us a faster firing rate and a faster reload speed on the Corrupted Nebula, which will allow us to use the mod a lot more frequently and faster. So this is another nice option to use if you do not want to use Burden of the Sheolist, or if you feel like you're benefiting from it more. You do get a faster cast speed, you do get faster movement speed, so it is a nice quality of life. So this is a great option to use over one of the other rings here. Anastasia's Inspiration, a fantastic ring. As for my primary weapon, this is not important. You can use whatever you want. I just went with Forward Scattergun just because for the mod generation, it does a lot. It does generate a lot of mod power for our Flying Bomb Trap. You guys saw this in my Explosive Archer build. This is a really, really strong mod, capable of doing big time damage. Unfortunately, it only affects a certain number of bosses. The flying bosses like that, they will not be affected. Also, some stationary bosses like Cinderclad Forge cannot be affected by this. So this is why we have the two versions of the build. This version of the build is more for the ground enemies that will be affected by the flying bomb trap. Second version is for those flying pesky ranged enemies and ranged bosses. We have the pressure point mutator on this because we want to be up and close when we release that bomb. We want to trap our boss, our enemies in front of us, and we want the flying bomb traps to just go crazy on them. And when we use pressure point, we're going to have another explosion coming every time we cast that flying bomb trap. Plus, it increases the mod damage of it. Really nice. As far as the armor is concerned, we are using fashion, guys. You know I love my fashion. I like looking cool, but I always encourage you guys to wear heavier armor than I do, just for more survivability. If you guys are curious to what I'm using, I am using the Navigator's Helm, the Labyrinth Mantle, the Labyrinth Treads, and the Technician Gloves. And this puts me with our traits at 50% damage reduction, which is really nice to have. We need a little bit more damage reduction here because we are using the Chaos Gate to buff our mods. And while you're in the Chaos Gate, you do take more damage. So that is something that we do need a little bit more survivability. But when I'm not in Chaos Gate, I could easily withstand 1 to 2 hits, which is comfortable for me. But guys, you wear heavier armor if you need to. For the relic, we are using the Tranquil Heart. Now, I got tired of using Profane Heart. I'm sure you guys are a little tired of it too. Tranquil Heart is still one of my favorites. It's just passive healing. And if I do so choose to summon a minion, this does passively heal them as well. This is why I went with the Tranquil Heart. But you can use whatever relic you want. We are using the elemental damage, the mod damage, and the mod cost fragments on there. For the traits, Flashcaster, regrowth of the respective armor traits, Fortify for damage reduction, Swiftness for movement speed, Triage to increase the healing ability from the Tranquil Heart, Gifted to keep our Chaos Gate out there longer, Vigor for the HP, Spirit for our mod gen, Expertise. Now this is one that you can switch off to something else if you don't want it. We are not spamming mods. Skills frequently on this build, so you don't really even need expertise, but this is just nice to have if you are using the summons and they're dying, or you're sacrificing them and you want to summon them again. This is good to have. Amplitude to give us a bigger Chaos Gate and bigger explosive radius with our explosives, and then Bark Skin for a little bit more tankiness. And that sums up version 1 of the build. Let's move on to the second version. Alright, so for the second version of the build, we are now utilizing the Provisioner's Ring to reload our Corrupted Nebula, because the Corrupted Nebula has such a slow reload. So this is a really unique and fun playstyle to use, and it's typically seen on range builds, but it was nice and fits perfectly in with this particular range mod build, and I'll explain to it in a second. But let's go over the noticeable changes. So we're now using ammo reserves because Provisioner's Ring does scale with ammo reserves and does speed up the process of reloading your weapon, and this is going to offset the burden of the Sheolist. And even if I don't use burden of the Sheolist, let's say I use something like Alumni Ring or anything like that, it still reloads exactly the same. So I stuck with burden of the Sheolist, so the ammo reserves does offset that. We are now also using Longshot because we need to offset the burden of the Destroyer, because we are using our primary fires as a primary source of damage now in this build. So we do need the Longshot. And we also have Chakra on there, and that is because we do want to keep the corrosive rounds up longer, so we do need this for the mod duration. So we are a little less tanky by 5% in this build. Keep that in mind. Just be careful when you are in Chaos Gate and things like that. And also, I forgot to go over the melee weapon for both of these builds, and you could use whatever you want as long as you are using Tainted Blade on there to double dip on the acid trinkets that we are using. I have Huntress Spear on here just because it double dips further, because this does innate acid damage, but you can use whatever you want. In the Annihilation fight, I did use Spectral Blade with acid, with Tainted Blade, so again, whatever you're comfortable with using, you can use that. And on to how to use the build now, since Provisioner Ring is essentially reloading our weapons. What you want to do is you want to shoot your Corrupted Nebula, explode it, switch over to Coach Gun, fire 3 rounds. Then once you're empty, you want to activate your corrosive rounds for a reload, shoot those 3 rounds, swap back to the Corrupted Nebula, shoot that, explode it, swap back to Coach Gun, shoot the 3 rounds, reload, shoot the 3 rounds, swap back to Corrupted Nebula, shoot, explode. Rinse and repeat. It is a really fun playstyle, really unique. And I hope you guys enjoy it, because I know a lot of people haven't talked much about Provisioner's Ring. It's one of my favorite rings in the game. It has been since Remnant 1, and I know it's typically seen on range builds. But guys, let me tell you, this really fits well with this particular setup, this particular weapon, Corrupt the Nebula. And I'm glad I finally got around to Corrupt the Nebula. It became one of my favorite secondaries, a lot of fun to use. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Which version of the build is your favorite? Do you enjoy Corrupt the Nebula? Do you enjoy Provisioner's Ring? Hope you guys found this video informative and helpful. If you did, please consider giving it a like, a share, subscribe if you have not done so already, and I'll catch everyone on the next one.